Hi friends, I'm Charlie. I'm a designer and a YouTuber, and I'm here on the Webflow channel for our annual design trends overview. But this year, there is a bit of a twist. For 2020, instead of looking at visual design trends, we're going to be looking at common patterns in the deeper underlying concerns of design as a whole. So instead of things like color schemes and layouts and animation trends, this year's trends list is answering the bigger questions, like how do we design to make information clear while still making it easily consumable? How do we make design universal, ensuring no one feels excluded or erased by our decisions? And how are new generation tools changing the way that we work? Webflow have published their annual blog post that shares the top 9 trends in answer to these questions, and in this video right here, I'm going to share with you my top 5 from that list. So let's get into it. We're starting off with a heavy one. With the state of the world at the moment, misinformation is everywhere online, and it can be really hard to know if the content you're reading or watching or listening to on the internet is true or not. Misinformation can have huge consequences, and tech companies are making changes to their policies and in some cases the design of their sites in order to try and combat this with varying degrees of success. Facebook's current iteration shows an overlay on disputed content. Twitter outright banned political advertising as part of their solution to this problem, and news sites tend to show a small sponsored label next to content that's been paid for. None of these things completely solve the problem, of course, and unfortunately the spread of misinformation is one of those things that's going to keep getting worse if we don't keep working on solving it. So that's why designing for truth is a big trend for 2020. It's something that should be on all of our minds as we're creating content-driven experiences, and we as designers need to do what we can to help our users to better evaluate content. This could mean making authors and their credentials much more obvious so that readers can make a better judgment. It could mean making paid-for content appear very differently to regular other content so that readers have more context when they see that sponsored stuff. And it definitely also means watching out for changes in the way misinformation is spread and reacting to that, because it is an ever-changing beast. John from the Webflow team went into great more detail about designing for truth in the post on the Webflow blog, so you should definitely click through the link in the description to go and read more about it. Okay, so in principle, we know that accessibility is important, right? And we have for a long time. But in the near future, making sure that our websites are usable for everyone, regardless of their abilities, is likely going to become a compliance issue with requirements we have to meet. Just look at cases like the Domino's lawsuit, where a blind man sued them because he couldn't order on their website using screen reading software. Not good. 26% of the US population lives with some form of disability, according to the CDC, but it's likely that 100% of the population will experience either a situational or a temporary disability at some point in their lives. There is no normal when it comes to people's abilities to see, hear, read, speak, write, etc. And we as designers need to change the way that we design in order to address this. Vox has put together a really good checklist on all the different ways that web professionals can contribute to creating experiences that are accessible, so check that out. There's a lot that I need to improve on, and I'm sure there's some things that you need to work on too. 2020 is our year. We got this. Come on, you knew this one was coming, right? No code is here to stay. I'm sure you all know that Webflow is a big player in the no code movement, making coding much more accessible to everyone through visual development. Gone are the days when code could only be written or typed by hand into a text editor by people who knew the language. The no-code movement means that more and more people can now bring their ideas to life. Because why do something the hard way when an easier way exists? Of course, Webflow is far from the only no-code tool out there though, so check out the blog post for a roundup of some other great no-code software, things like Shopify for creating an online store with no code, Notion for creating databases with no code, Zapier for connecting tools in just a few clicks, and of course the company I work for, ConvertKit, for no-code email marketing automation. It's been really exciting to see how the industry is growing and changing around this no-code movement, and it's only going to keep getting bigger in 2020. Speaking of the way our industry is growing and changing, visual developer was not a job title that existed when I was getting started in tech, but the rise of the no-code movement has opened up new roles like this for people who specialize in using no-code tools. It's not quite as common a sight to see as the traditional web designer or web developer roles in job postings yet, but I think we will see that change as the no-code movement continues to grow. Everyone is a designer is something that sparked a lot of debate on Twitter, but honestly, it's kind of true. Everyone is a designer, just like everyone's a writer. And the difference between someone with the title designer and someone who designs without the title is usually one of scale or extent. Writing and designing are skills, not identities. So being a writer or a designer really just means occupying a spot on the spectrum where by taking the title, you're saying that that's the skill that you use for most of your workday. All that aside, the important thing to realize here is that your role is not your identity. It is not who you are. And over-identifying with a skill in this way could be what's causing this imposter syndrome that is rife within our industry. And it could also be what causes people to feel a bit threatened when they see people saying things like, everyone is a designer. So for 2020, please let's all remember that we are complex human beings. We are more than our careers and more than our skill sets. Those are my top 5 favorite trends from Webflow's annual Trend Roundup blog post, but you should definitely go click the link in the description to read more of them. There are some great topics covered, some real insightful stuff in there. Overall, I feel a real sense of hope and empowerment in these trends. I think the design industry is moving in a great direction and I'm excited for it. I hope you are too. Thanks for watching, and let's make 2020 a really good year.